Greetings, one and all. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Today we cover a look at the strategy difference between VW, Mercedes, GM, etc., and Tesla when it comes to Model 3 or electric development. The second thing we take a look at today is what I call Model 3 performance boredom. It's the norm right now for everyone to be focused on what's happening with the performance Model 3 because it's a new car and kind of what's going on. And I would argue that it's a boring vehicle compared to what potentially it could be. And then the third thing we kind of do is sort of catch up on the week's sort of in the news activities that might be impacting Tesla. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time on the channel, please take time to like and subscribe. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. And please note I can see when all of you have said hello, etc. And I'll wait until the end. I would appreciate your taking time to pose questions either in the video or videos we've produced before or things that you see going on with Tesla. I've chosen to do a driving show in Washington, D.C. today, in particular because there are a number of monuments, etc., where you can't get near them during the week because traffic is so bad. But it does give me a chance to provide a little different look to the show versus the same old every week, and it's something that you'll notice. So my first, hey, Will do. Thank you. I'm going to do a stop here as we get up to Congress in a couple of minutes. So the first thing that I wanted to cover today was the fact that there's an interesting note that came up from one of the heads of Daimler Benz this past week. And what he pointed out is that as Daimler is developing its electric strategy, what it's currently doing is going around the world to actually see what large entities are doing or what best practices are in the electric space and acquiring from those suppliers whatever it is that they do well. So all of the manufacturers are doing the same thing. So for example, one of the things that's fascinating about this is that if in fact you wanted to build a brand new car, somewhere around 80% of the parts in an ICE vehicle right now, you could simply call up manufacturers around the world and source parts that they're currently selling to other manufacturers that allow them, that allow you to produce a new car. Therefore, the benefit that the auto company provides is that there's marketing, there's sales, there's the brand image. There's very little, there's about a 20% piece there of what it is that an ICE company provides uniquely that other firms don't provide. Now, one of the interesting question marks on Tesla right now is what's going to happen in the interesting question that pops up is what's going to happen in the electric space. So there are two answers to that question. One answer is that in the case of Tesla, Tesla has a process going where they're not only building their vehicles, they're reverse integrated in the sense that, for example, Tesla has a research facility in tandem with a school and a professor in Canada. I wanted to say, again, thanks, Guy. I'm gonna, pull over here. We're in a place called Union Station in Washington, D.C., and I'm gonna pull over, I think, and give up on the driving plan because the movement of camera is too much, as you just shared. So what's going on is that Tesla has, I want to say, a cost overhang. A lot of people have been focused on what's happening with the production of the vehicle and how many vehicles are produced, how much is it making, therefore Tesla can make money. One of my focuses has been to discuss what I call the leaking side of the business of Tesla. So what does that mean? It means that there are a bunch of cost centers that Tesla has that others don't, and those cost centers are you know, they cost money, they have yield, there's a reason why they're doing it, but because other manufacturers don't have those costs, you know, it creates a problem. So one of the great examples of that is the engineering side related to batteries. So the number may not be huge now because of what they have developed, but many of Tesla's advanced products are being developed in partnership with their research facilities in Toronto, Canada, with the leading one of the leading experts in the world on battery development. So the issue is that it's not $1 million, it's not $100 million. Let's say it's $20 or $30 million a year worth of R&D related to optimization of current batteries and development of new batteries. So the challenge question that pops up is that Tesla has an overhang of cost related to these activities that's logical to have, but it's actually very bad news from a cost standpoint for Tesla. And so one of the narratives about whether Tesla makes it or not is that at some point Samsung or the main manufacturers in Asia will change the situation in that they'll finally catch up with Tesla, and then Tesla's overhang of costs related to research and other activities will actually kind of kill the company, because competitors not having to spend on those issues will actually have a huge competitive advantage. I think I'm going to pull over here so that we can sort of get a backdrop of the U.S. Congress a bit, and kind of go from there. We got no more shaking. So I'm going to duck out just a little bit to get us in the view circumstance. So as you can see, we're in a place called Union Station in Washington, D.C., and it's right behind me. And I think the sun is sneaking up on us here. So what's interesting about this situation is that one of the predictions of Tesla going out of business is that if you're BMW, if you're GM, if you're Daimler Benz, you have an advantage, and what the advantage is there's probably definitely 30 million, but there could be as much as $200 to $300 million worth of annual costs that lurk underneath Tesla that the large competing manufacturers don't have. So there's this whole body of questions that's out there. Number one, if a place like Samsung catches up with Tesla in terms of basically a 300-mile battery that costs, let's say, $10,000 to $15,000, right at that inflection point, every manufacturer in the world can go to those manufacturers, grab those batteries, and then put them in their vehicles, and the advantages Tesla has completely disappears. So if you'll note, all of the major manufacturers have a long list of we're spending $10 billion. We're building a huge new plant. All of the $10 billion announcements from all the major manufacturers relate to a 2021 or 2022 implementation of that new factory that's going to be able to produce millions of electric vehicles eventually, starting off with a lower number. So the blueprint that all the Tesla competitors are working on is about it is actually kind of the same blueprint. So you'll notice that as everyone is announcing when they're going to have scale vehicles and batteries to compete with Tesla, it's all at the same time. And so what's, I guess, interesting to me about this circumstance is there's a huge strategy difference. The question mark that's lurking here is, wait a second, the assumption by everyone involved, Daimler, etc., is by 2021, our partners at Samsung and other firms will easily have the Tesla competitive advantage reeled in, so we don't have to worry about the R&D effort it takes to compete there. This is also, I wanted to change orientation because the sunlight is hitting us versus coming from an angle that adds a light without affecting the image. So what's fascinating about this is that one of the narratives about Tesla's going out of business is that, guess what? The process of the Tesla expulsion out of business is, number one, you have extra R&D spending that they have to do, other people don't. Number two, once those other entities do their R&D, you can do just-in-time inventory. So you're buying batteries, let's say from Samsung. You can tell Samsung, hey, I want to buy these batteries and I want 60-day terms, and I'm Mercedes-Benz or BMW or VW in Germany. Once they ship that out, you can get 60, 90-day terms on all those batteries coming out, which represent a third or half the cost of the vehicle, let's say. Now, what's beautiful about structures like that is that your return on capital is higher because you're not manufacturing from scratch. So you have an ability to, in essence, get 60 to 90-day terms. You can build your car, sell it to your customer in 30 to 60 to 80 days, let's say. And now you have cash moving around like crazy, an example of what Tesla does not have currently. So I wanted to sort of explore this whole strategy difference, because one of the narratives about Tesla going out of business is that all the major manufacturers will find suppliers that allow them to be Tesla competitive. And then Tesla's vertical integration plan, which costs them money, completely screws them over. And therefore, that's one of the going out of business narratives. The problem currently is, as we all know, from battery density to superchargeability to all these other elements, the Tesla, particularly the battery, remains at a competitive advantage to everyone else. And therefore, this whole narrative of Tesla's going out of business by being under attack by the general process of how other manufacturers will compete is it doesn't work right now. And it particularly doesn't work because, guess what? Nobody has a vehicle out that can go 300 miles yet that isn't a planned 300 miles that we keep hearing about. And so I kind of bring all this up to you guys because I think it's interesting to sort of understand globally what's going on. The next thing I wanted to cover today is what I call Model 3 performance boring. I wanted to, so what I was hunting for in this title piece is that the latest and greatest, and there are 50 stories out there on it right now, is that the new Model 3 Performance is out. It's running a 3.5 second 0 to 60. And there's a lot of excitement because, they've achieved enough production at the somewhat basic level with the extended motor that they can move into Model 3. And it's nice to see what kind of performance you can generate to compete with cars that are a similar price once it's done, like the M3 or some of the AMG products, etc. I don't see I think, I give the whole thing a B, maybe a B plus. And the reason I say that is that there's an interesting thing that was found in the auto business. And this is from a writer that I revere, and this is probably 20 years ago that I read about this and am intrigued by it. And that is that if you have a car, the nastier the car is, so it looks like it can perform, as in a low-slung road vehicle. When you go on the road, you not only attract attention from all of the other consumers, but you attract police attention. So one of the problems you run into is anytime you're in a terrific super sports car, you actually attract a lot of attention from different entities, including police, making it difficult to enjoy your performance. When it comes to the Model 3 Performance, because it looks like a regular Model 3, the badging will be different on the back. This creates a problem, or it's a great opportunity because you can run around with a whole bunch of people perceiving that you're just another Model 3, not the Performance, and therefore chances of getting tickets, etc., are lower. What's interesting about this and why I bring it up is that, yes, you're getting performance numbers, so you're getting a half second to a second quicker on a 0 to 60 time than the standard Model 3 in terms of long range. I think that's good. The reason I call it boring is that Tesla's gotten into an interesting, uh, absolutely, it is a sleeper, and that's good because you can run heavy performance without being nabbed by police, etc., or harassed, and that is a good thing. When I drive supercars as I'm testing, it's amazing. I've had police just on me like crazy, particularly in freeway settings. So it is a sleeper, and it's a good thing. The bad thing I argue, and I say it's a boring vehicle, is it doesn't have any of those characteristics. So, hey, Tesla, how about a wing that pops up like Porsche? Or how about, special badging or colors or tires or rims or anything that makes it, kind of fascinating, interesting. Um, I'm The other thing I've been wondering about and waiting to find Tesla deliver it rather than people having to go to what I call tuners is the fact that I spoke with a few people at Tesla over the years to ask about, why it is that if you're buying a $150,000 P100D, the nature of your treatment relative to the dealership is exactly the same as if you have a bottom of the line $60,000 vehicle. And that would go for the Model 3 as well. And the reason I brought this up is that there's a reason why there's a let's say a Honda and then there's a Lexus tier, or you get my drift. I really think that there's a need for another tier with higher price and maybe badging from Tesla that allows them to provide better service or unique services to those willing to pay up. So the relative difference in badging and colors between a Lexus and the regular Toyota, it's an outside shell of the car, and most of the inside is actually the same, but Toyota can charge 30 or 40% more. Tesla does not do this, but I think there are a lot of things they can do. So my version of an interesting performance Model 3 would have several factors. Number one, all of the variables I'm presenting are associated with the racing Model S's currently. Number one, the option of having titanium hood and trunk covers allows you to reduce the weight of the car. So the number one goal is, can you reduce the weight of the car by 200 to 500 pounds? Number two, a way to get rid of all the seats in the car so that you can run lighter, and with the less weight you're carrying, your performance numbers are going to start improving dramatically. By the way, Tesla may not want to do this because it cannibalizes, their 2.8 second P100 is cannibalized. Because, for example, if you rip 500 pounds out of a Model 3, it can run with those faster vehicles. So Recaro and some of those other manufacturers, there's rim changes you can make. So there's a long list of changes, and we'll probably cover this again, but you can do things like rim changes for weight reduction. You can do things like rip seats out of the car and just put a roll cage there, so now you don't have as much weight you're carrying. Should the car from Tesla, if it's going to be performance, be set up for users to truly be able to turn it into a performance vehicle? The answer would be yes, if they're like, hey, we'll ship it to you sort of semi-dismantled so that you can reduce the weight by items you won't be using regularly. Or is there a way for us to say, hey, if you want to go performance, here's how we lay the car out different so you can have it modified so that you can go to performance. Now, this is what I believe would transform the car from what I call being boring into a really cool performance vehicle, because all of a sudden you might go out with outside suppliers, etc., to all of a sudden construct a really interesting vehicle that's capable of monster performance. And there's a segment of the population that's interested in paying more for really cool performance. So I bring this up because I really think that there's a number of things you could do with your Model 3 regardless, and Model X. And all of it, at the core, there's a core barrier to just say, how do we make a change in the weight to allow us to get another sort of transform this vehicle into something really fun. Um, so uh, Thanks for that, Jerry. A Tesla racing line would absolutely sell like hotcakes. And I believe the way that racing line would set up is, what if the electronics and everything else in the vehicle was set up for you to rip out everything you don't need, enjoy performance, 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 and then if you have to put seats back in, et cetera, that would be interesting. I haven't weighed the rims on a Tesla, but again, as we change into racing, those rims are going to have different weight properties. Materials used are going to be different to improve how much they weigh to help with that. But there are a whole host of things you could do to help set the vehicle up to really be a performer. And the one drawback I would say is that if you're able to get out the door for 90K and you have a real performance Model 3 now, does that screw over the 150K P100s? And that might be a reason for it. The other reason I'm saying this car is boring is, guess what? There's something called ludacrous, and they haven't put ludacrous in that vehicle yet. So for my friends watching in Europe, that transition into ludacrous mode being available on the Model 3 is another element of how this transitions from being boring to being a really exciting vehicle. So at any rate, I think it's really interesting to sort of watch how this is all developing. I'm intrigued because we try to do different things, cover different things on the show that are not typical but reflect broadening and understanding. Jerry, really appreciate comments made. Reminder, please like and subscribe if you're also hit the bell icon so you don't miss us when we're starting up. What else? We're on Patreon. Could use some help there if you would, to enable us to improve and execute better on equipment. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thank you, my friend from South Africa, as well as Jerry. I have to admit, I have a hard time pronouncing your name, but I really appreciate your always being engaged on our show. But I also enjoy learning languages, so if you'd like to share anything, it'd be fun to learn that as well. I hope you guys have a great day. Please pose any questions, ideas, thoughts that you might have. Jerry, I love your comments regarding the racing division idea. I definitely think it would be interesting for Tesla to move into that realm. Hello, Mr. Stryker. Thank you for the stop by. Anyway, this is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Tesla's coming out with numbers this coming week. I think the stock is going to be volatile. Hopefully, that works well. Jerry, that's a great idea on the live stream. I think that's my survey question for our viewers. Should we consider an hour-long live stream, and we schedule when that time is, and sort of bring everybody together? We kind of get there by doing a couple of shows a week, but I think it'd be interesting to have other people's inputs on when that live stream might be and for how long. Anyway, this is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Once again, wanted to reference you back to our Tesla Fan Insight on Facebook. We're posting there every 2 or 3 days with developments that we're seeing at our service facility in Tyson's Corner. And we'd also love to have any and all input that you guys might suggest. Please like, and we do put a couple of ads and would appreciate you taking 6 or 7 seconds to watch. It also supports the channel. Thanks once again for joining us. Have a great day, and bye for now.